Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. I am so glad you could join me today. Usually on this show, we spend a lot of time dissecting massive, complex systems, analyzing hard data, and really breaking down the big, noisy issues in our world. But today we're going to quiet things down a bit. We're looking at something incredibly intimate, incredibly small, but profoundly powerful. We're exploring this concept of guerrilla kindness, specifically the art of anonymous library notes. It's this quiet, hidden act of philanthropy that literally costs 0 cents, but has this documented power to create a lifelong ripple of hope for someone. So settle in, get comfortable, and let's explore how a simple piece of paper can totally change the world for a complete stranger. I want you to step into a scenario with me for a second. Picture this. You're having one of the hardest weeks of your entire year. You know exactly the kind of week I'm talking about. You feel completely overwhelmed by the weight of everything on your plate. You feel entirely invisible to the people around you, and honestly, you just feel profoundly disconnected. The noise of daily life is just too much. So to escape, even if it's just for a single hour, you walk into a quiet public library. The air is perfectly still. It has that great smell of old paper and quiet contemplation. You wander down the aisles, feeling the spines of the books, and you just pull a random one off the shelf. You sit down in a worn-out chair, open the cover, and suddenly, a small index card slides right out from between the pages and falls straight into your lap. You pick it up, and on it, in handwritten ink, are the exact words your heart desperately needed to hear in that precise, agonizing moment. And the most beautiful part of this whole thing? It was written by a complete stranger who will never, ever know your name. This isn't just a fantasy, folks. This is a quiet movement happening in cities all over, and today we're going to break down exactly how and why it works so beautifully. Okay, let's dive into this with Section 1, the Serendipity Effect. To truly appreciate the impact of a hidden note, we kind of have to understand the science of surprise. We have to look at the fascinating neurological reasons why this kind of unexpected gesture matters so incredibly much to the human brain. See, when a person stumbles onto a positive message entirely by accident, it doesn't just feel nice. The brain actually registers this unexpected find as a literal cosmic stroke of luck. It's a jolt to the system. Because it wasn't planned and it definitely wasn't asked for, it totally bypasses our usual cynical filters and triggers a massive, sudden spike of dopamine, our brain's reward chemical.
Think about the difference here for a second. Let's say it's your birthday, right? And a coworker hands you a card. It's polite, it's a social norm, and you anticipate it. Your brain processes it as pleasant, sure, but routine. Now contrast that with the unexpected find. You're alone in an aisle, you open a book, and there's a note. Because this note is completely anonymous, the recipient's mind doesn't get bogged down trying to figure out what the person wants from them. There are absolutely 0 strings attached. There's no awkward social obligation to smile or say thank you or figure out how to return the favor. In that moment of deep isolation, it feels less like a note from a person and more like a direct, validating message from the universe itself telling them, hey, I see you and you're going to make it.
Which brings us to Section 2, the ultimate sanctuary. So why the venue? Why libraries? Why not, coffee shops or park benches? Let's look at the unique architecture of a library. And I don't mean just the building, but as a societal institution. Libraries are one of the very last remaining spaces in modern society where absolutely anyone can go and exist without the expectation of spending a dime. They are truly democratic, almost sacred spaces. They offer a quiet environment that's specifically designed for focus and reflection. But most importantly, libraries are places where people go when they're seeking answers, when we're lost, when we need to fix something in our lives, or when we just desperately need an escape. We go to the library. And that creates this incredible opportunity for targeted empathy. By placing a note in a specific genre, you can target your encouragement directly to the wound someone is actively trying to heal. Just imagine the person standing in the self-help section. They might be completely overwhelmed, trying to figure out how to heal from a devastating divorce. Over in the academic section, you've got a stressed-out college student, head buried in a textbook, feeling like they just aren't smart enough to pass. Or in the career section, an unemployed parent quietly flipping through resume-building guides, feeling this immense, crushing pressure to provide for their family. By choosing exactly where you place your note, you're meeting these individuals exactly where they're suffering. You're speaking directly to their silent struggles. And this brilliantly illustrates our next point in Section 3, crafting your hidden message. So how do you actually write a message for a stranger? How do you speak to a wound when you don't know the exact details of their pain? Well, the goal is universal relatability combined with deep emotional impact. But before we get to what you should write, we need to be crystal clear on what not to write. We absolutely must avoid toxic positivity. Phrases like just smile or everything happens for a reason. Look, they might come from a good place, but to someone who is genuinely grieving or suffering, they feel incredibly dismissive. It basically tells them their pain isn't valid. Instead, we want to craft messages rooted in authentic hope. We want to offer validation. We want to offer true solidarity. We want to meet people in the dark rather than just yelling at them to turn on the light.
Let's actually look at some templates directly from our source material. This first one is called the Solidarity Note, and it is absolutely perfect for the self-help or psychology aisles. Listen to the warmth in these words. To whoever opens this page, I don't know what heavy burden you are carrying today, but I want you to know you don't have to carry it perfectly. You are stronger than your anxiety, you are deeper than your trauma, and you are worth the effort it takes to heal. Take a deep breath, you're doing better than you think. Man, imagine reading that when you feel like you're failing at holding your life together. It literally grants them permission to be imperfect.
Now let's shift gears a bit. What if you're leaving a note in a biography about a great historical figure or a book on overcoming massive historical adversity? For that, you'd use the Perseverance Note. Hey reader, just a quick reminder, the people in this book faced impossible odds, just like you might be facing right now. Your current struggle is a chapter in your story, not the final page. Don't give up on yourself. The world needs the light only you can bring. I love this one. It's a rallying cry. It connects the reader directly to the heroes of the past, reminding them that their own story is still actively being written. And finally, for the fiction, poetry, or art sections, the places where people go to escape, we have the Micro Joy Note. I hope this book gives you the escape or the magic you're looking for today. Take a moment to stretch your shoulders, soften your jaw, and remind yourself that you deserve peace. You are seen, you are valued, and I hope something wonderfully unexpected happens to you today. This note is just a gentle, beautiful grounding exercise. It pulls the reader right out of their tense, hurried reality and wraps them in this warm, comforting acknowledgement that they completely deserve a magical escape. So the crucial point is how we do this responsibly. Section 4, Rules of Respectful Disruption. If we're going to spread this joy, we have to do it right. We're guests in these libraries, and the absolute last thing we want to do is make a hardworking librarian's job difficult, right? So let's walk methodically through these 4 ground rules to make sure our respectful disruption hits the mark perfectly. First up, use the right materials. You've got to stick to clean, lightweight index cards or flat paper. Never, ever use sticky notes. That adhesive can leave a glue residue that ruins old, delicate pages. And definitely avoid anything bulky that could warp the book's binding over time. Second, be a literary matchmaker. Like we just talked about, context is literally everything. Slip your comfort note into the beginning of a book on grief, or a perseverance note right into page 100 of a biography. Third, let it peek out slightly. When you place the card, leave just a tiny millimeter of the paper sticking out of the top or the side. It's this subtle visual cue that gently invites a browser to pull it out. And finally, don't sign your real name. Keep it anonymous to preserve that magic serendipity. You can sign off with "From a Stranger Who Cares," or if you want to connect it to the broader movement, just use a community tag like #LibraryNotesProject. Which brings us to our final part today, Section 5, the Invisible Impact Challenge. As we wrap up the explainer today, I really want to slow things down. We've talked about the mechanics, the psychology behind it, and the templates. But I want to spend these final minutes talking about the true philosophical weight of what this act represents, the test of ego. When you do this, you will never see the outcome. You're never going to get a thank you email. You will never get to see the tears of relief or the sudden huge smile on the recipient's face. In a world where we are constantly conditioned to seek immediate public validation for our good deeds through likes and comments, this is an exercise in pure, unconditional generosity. You're putting love out into the universe simply because the universe desperately needs more love, with absolutely zero expectation of a return on your investment. You're literally stretching your hand across time and space, leaving it there, and just hoping that eventually a stranger who feels completely alone will walk by and take it. So I'm throwing down a challenge to you today straight from our source material. It's called the 3-book deposit. Here's what I want you to do. I challenge you to sit down tonight with a pen and 3 blank index cards. Handwrite 3 unique messages of encouragement using the guidelines we literally just went over. Then, this weekend, take a quiet, solitary trip to your local public library. Browse the shelves, let your intuition guide you, find 3 books that really speak to you, and quietly drop your notes inside. You know, we spend so much of our time feeling completely helpless against the massive, deeply entrenched structural problems of the world. We read the news and we think, man, I'm just one person. What can I possibly do? Well, this is what you can do.
You can reclaim your local spaces. You can walk into a building as a regular, everyday citizen and transform a mundane bookshelf into a literal treasure map of human kindness. You can become an anonymous guardian angel for your neighbors. You don't need anybody's permission to create this kind of magic. You have the tangible, high-impact ability right now to leave your immediate world just a little bit brighter than you found it.
I want to leave you with this final, provocative question. If you were the one having the absolute hardest week of your year, and you opened a book today, what is the exact sentence you would want to read? Really think deeply about that. In fact, I'd absolutely love for you to comment below with your sentence so we can build a master list of phrases for everyone to use in their own library missions. Thank you so much for joining me for this deep dive into guerrilla kindness. Next time on The Explainer, we're going to look at another fascinating concept for social good called the coffee suspension. And we'll explore how a simple prepaid beverage can fundamentally alter the entire trajectory of someone's morning. Until then, grab a pen, find a book, and go do some invisible work. Catch you next time.